Hello everyone, this is Navin Kumar. Welcome to the channel. Friends, in this video we are going to study direct and indirect speech. That is also called as reported speech. So when we change a direct speech into indirect speech, that becomes reported speech. So what is direct speech? What is indirect speech? The definitions and examples we are going to study. Let's see the definitions of both direct and indirect speech. So what is direct speech? If we repeat the words of a person exactly in his or her own words to someone, it is called as direct speech. So when we repeat the words without any changes to someone else, that becomes direct speech. So when we quote someone, that becomes direct speech. Let's see one example. Rohan said, I am very happy about your success. I am very happy about your success. The statement which is in double inverted comma, these are the words of Rohan. Exactly in his own way, it has been represented. So that is called as direct speech. So what is indirect speech? If we express the essence of main points of a person's words with a few modifications, it is called as indirect speech or reported speech. So when we are repeating the words of a person with little modifications in our own way to someone else, that becomes indirect speech because we are reporting it. If we are quoting, that becomes direct speech. Here we are reporting it with few modifications. So let's see the same example, how it changes into indirect speech. Rohan said that he was very happy about my success. Rohan said, I am very happy about your success. That's a direct speech. And in indirect, Rohan said that he was very happy about my success. So the meaning is same, but there are little modifications. Let's compare the direct and indirect statements. So what are those modifications? What are those changes? Let's compare them. The same example, Rohan said, I am very happy about your success. That has been changed into indirect as Rohan said that he was very happy about my success. So you might be observing few changes there. What is the first change? The pronoun has changed to indicate the person who spoke. The pronoun has been changed there. So I became he. Second change is the tense of the original sentence has changed. The tense of the original sentence is I am very happy, that is simple present. So that has been changed to simple past. I am very happy became was very happy. The third one is conjunction that is used in indirect speech. This conjunction that, you can skip it. Okay, it's not compulsory that you people have to use. Either you can use or you can skip this. Now let us see few more examples to learn what are the changes and what is a reporting verb. So Daniel said, I worked as a waiter before becoming a chef. So what is the reporting verb here? Said is the reporting verb. So let's see how it changes into indirect. Daniel said that he had worked as a waiter before becoming a chef. Now there are few changes. Why the tense and the conjunction are being used, that we will discuss later in detail when we study the rules of change of tense. He said the baby is sleeping. He said that the baby was sleeping. She said, I have hurt my leg. She said that she had hurt her leg. Okay. Reporting verb. So what is reporting verb? The verb used to introduce the reported speech is called as reporting verb. So the verb which introduces the reported speech. So you might have observed in various earlier examples. Commonly used reporting verbs. What are the commonly used reporting verbs in English language? Said, told, asked, complimented, requested, informed, offered, apologized, ordered, wished, greeted, welcomed, agreed, disagreed, pleaded, demanded, grumbled, believed, considered, opined, remarked, repeated, exclaimed, suggested, decided, etc. These are the various reporting verbs that are used in direct and indirect speech. Rules for change of tense. So there are certain rules and regulations when it comes to changing of direct speech into indirect speech. So in my previous video, I have made it very clear that tenses are very important in order to learn direct and indirect speech. So a person, if he is very familiar with all the tenses, then it will be very easy to change direct speech into indirect speech. So there are certain rules how the tense of the direct speech changes into indirect speech. So let us study one by one. The first one, reporting verbs in the present or future tense remains unchanged. So the reporting verb, if they are in present or future tense. If the reporting verbs are in present or future tense, then the tense of the direct speech, the tense of that statement, that is not changed. For example, Pratap says, I am writing physics assignment. So in this example, what is the reporting verb here? Says, that has been highlighted here. Says is the reporting verb. In which tense is this reporting verb? Present tense. Okay, says is in present tense. So if the reporting verb is in present tense, then this, the tense of the direct speech is not to be changed. Okay, I am writing physics assignment is present continuous. So this tense of this statement cannot be changed into indirect speech. So we have to keep it as it is. So how it changes into indirect? Pratap says that he is writing physics assignment. So the present continuous remained in indirect speech also. Rajesh will say, I was playing chess. What is the reporting verb here? Will say. And which tense is this? Will say is in future tense. So the rule tells if the reporting verb is in present tense or in future tense, then the tense of the direct speech cannot be changed. So this one, I was playing chess. Which tense is this? I was playing chess. Past continuous. So the indirect speech also should be in past continuous. Rajesh will say that he was playing chess. Same, past continuous and past continuous. Both the examples are in past continuous. So this is the first rule. Remember, if the reporting verb, if it is in present tense or in future tense, the tense of the direct speech cannot be changed. You have to keep it as it is. Let's move on to the second rule. If the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the tense of the statement is subjected to change. This second rule is very tricky. One need to learn it very carefully. If the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the tense of the statement, then the tense of the direct speech, that is subjected to change. How? For example, John said, I often come here. So what is the reporting verb here? Said. That is the reporting verb. In which tense is this? Past tense. So if this reporting verb is in past tense, then the tense of the direct speech, that is subjected to change. So if we try to change this sentence into indirect speech, how it is changed? John said that he often came there. So there is a slight change in the tense. John said that he often came there, that is simple past. The first example, the direct speech. John said, I often come here, that is simple present. So simple present became simple past. So now you might have one question. How to judge? How to judge the tense of the direct speech into indirect speech? How to change it? So there are certain rules. There is a table, a set of table that tells us if the direct speech is in particular tense, then what should be the tense of the indirect speech. Let's see that one. See, if the direct speech is in simple present, then the indirect should be in simple past. So now this entire table comes into play when the reporting verb is in the past tense. Remember that, the second rule. If the reporting verb is in past tense, then only this table comes into play. Let's see, if the reporting verb is in past tense and the direct speech is in simple present, then indirect should be in simple past. If the direct speech is in present continuous, indirect should be in past continuous. If the direct speech is in present perfect, indirect should be in past perfect. If the direct speech is in present perfect continuous tense, then the indirect should be in past perfect continuous tense. If the direct speech is in simple past, then the indirect should be in past perfect. Be very careful here. If the direct speech is in past continuous, then the indirect speech should be in past perfect continuous tense. If the direct speech is in past perfect, then the indirect should be in past perfect itself. We cannot change. If the direct speech is in past perfect continuous tense, then also the indirect should be in past perfect continuous tense itself. There is no change. If the direct speech is in simple future, the indirect speech, there are certain conditions, future conditional. Now, according to this table, we are going to study the example one by one. If the direct speech has may in it, the indirect should be might. So may becomes might. Can becomes could. Must sometimes remains must or had to. Might remains might. Could becomes could, same, or had been able to. Shall becomes should. Should remains should. Out to, it also remains out to, cannot be changed. These becomes those. This becomes that. Now becomes then. Today becomes the following day or the next day. Yesterday becomes the day before. Here becomes there. Will becomes would. So these are the changes of direct speech into indirect speech, both tenses and modal verbs. When this table comes into play, remember, when the reporting verb is in past tense, then the previous tenses that I displayed, that you should remember, and also these modal verbs, they also change. So one should remember this table. It's very easy to remember, not that hard. So now let's see few examples according to that table. Umesh said, I go to college every day. This is the direct speech. So now you can observe the reporting verb is in past tense here, said. Okay, so if the reporting verb is in past tense, then that table comes into play. So now we have to judge which tense is this direct speech is in. I go to college every day. That is simple present. Okay, so if the direct speech is in simple present, indirect should be in, remember that table. If the direct speech is in simple present, indirect should be in simple past. So let's try to change it. Umesh told me that he went to college every day. It became simple past. Next example. I am writing a letter to my brother, Swati said to me. So now, reporting verb is in past tense. So what is the tense of the direct speech? I am writing a letter to my brother. That is present continuous tense. So if the direct speech is in present continuous tense, indirect should be in past continuous tense. So let's change it into indirect. Swati told me that she was writing a letter to her brother. It became past continuous in indirect. I have posted the letter, Raman said to me. The next example. I have posted the letter. So said, it's already past tense. The reporting verb is in past tense. So we have to identify what is the tense of the direct speech. I have posted the letter. That is present perfect. So if the direct speech is in present perfect, indirect should be in past perfect. Raman told me that he had posted the letter. Donald said, I have been teaching English for 7 years. Reporting verb. Okay, it's already there in past tense. So we have to identify the tense of the direct speech. I have been teaching English for 7 years. Which tense is this? Present perfect continuous tense. Okay, so if the direct speech is in present perfect continuous tense, indirect should be in past perfect continuous tense. Donald said that he had been teaching English for 7 years. Okay, that is past perfect continuous tense. Next one. Harsha said to Soumya, I completed the work. So what is the tense of the direct speech? I completed the work. That is simple past. So if the direct speech is in simple past, indirect should be in past perfect tense. Harsha told Soumya that he had completed the work. I was waiting for my friend, Sagar said to me. So identify the tense of the direct speech here. I was waiting for my friend. Which tense is that? Past continuous. So if the direct speech is in past continuous, indirect should be in past perfect continuous tense. Sagar told me that he had been waiting for his friend. Next one. Ramya said, I had lost my handbag. So what is the tense of the direct speech? I had lost my handbag. That is past perfect tense. The direct speech is in past perfect tense. So if the direct speech is in past perfect tense, indirect should be no change. We have to keep it in past perfect tense itself. So let's try to change that into indirect speech. Ramya told me that she had lost her handbag. I had lost my handbag became she had lost her handbag. The tense is same, past perfect. Next one. Jaira said, I had been thinking of marrying a rich girl. So identify the tense of the direct speech. I had been thinking of marrying a rich girl. That is past perfect continuous tense. So if the direct speech is in past perfect continuous tense, indirect should be same in past perfect continuous tense itself. We cannot change the tense here. So let's try to change it. Jaira said that he had been thinking of marrying a rich girl. My brother said to me, I will speak to you about it later. So in this example, Let us try to identify the tense of the direct speech. I will speak to you about it later. Which tense is that? Simple future. So that is future conditional. So what are those conditions? The modal verbs come into play now. Will becomes would. So my brother said to me that he would speak to me about it later. So you have to remember that table. I said to Sam, you may go now. May becomes I told Sam that he might go then. So may becomes might. Swati said to me, I can do anything for you. That is the direct speech. So now identify the direct speech. What are the changes that we can make? I can do anything for you. What is the modal verb there? Can. So can becomes could in indirect speech. Swati told me that she could do anything for me. Next one. He said to me, you must return the book this evening. Must is there. So if must is there in direct speech, how it changes into indirect? Remember the table. He told me that I had to return the book that evening. Okay, so these are the examples, few examples that we could give to that second rule. Now the third rule, important. Reported speech expressing a universal truth or habitual fact or historical events are not changed. Okay, reported speech expressing universal truth, habitual fact, historical events are not changed. Though the reporting verb is in past tense, we are not supposed to change the historical events, universal truth, and habits of people into indirect speech. The tense we are not supposed to change. So, what is this? Let us make ourselves very clear with few examples. My friend said, honesty is the best policy. So, this is the direct speech now. So, according to rule 2, the reporting verb is in past tense, so the tense should be changed. But here, this is the fact. We cannot change the tense here. So, if we change the tense, then the meaning changes entirely. So, that's why we have to keep it as it is, since it's a universal truth. See, my friend said honesty is the best policy. So, if we have to change that into indirect, my friend said that honesty is the best policy. Next example. The teacher said the earth moves round the sun. Okay. Despite the reporting verb being in past tense, though the reporting verb is in past tense, since it is the universal truth, the earth moves around the sun is the universal truth. So we are not supposed to change the tense. Okay, you should be very careful while changing direct speech into indirect speech. There are these rules that you people have to first, make sure whether it's a universal truth or a historical event or a habit. Then make sure that the reporting verb is in present tense or in future tense or in past tense. Then go on changing. Okay, so now this example, the teacher said the earth moves around the sun. The earth moves around the sun, it's universal truth. So we are not supposed to change the tense. If we change the tense, then entirely the meaning changes there. It doesn't make sense. So how to change that into indirect? The teacher told that the earth moves around the sun. We have to keep it in the same tense. Simple present, we have to keep it in simple present itself. If we write it, the teacher told that the earth moved around the sun, then it is wrong. Next example. She said, I prefer hot coffee. That's a habit. So you are not supposed to change the tense when the direct speech is talking about habit or hobbies. So we have to keep it as it is. I prefer hot coffee. It's a simple present. We have to keep it in simple present itself. In indirect, she told me that she prefers hot coffee. Next, Prakash said India got freedom in 1947. That's a historical event. So you are not supposed to change the tense of the direct speech here. If you change, then the meaning changes completely, and that would be wrong. Prakash said India got freedom in 1947. If we have to change that into indirect, we have to keep it in the same tense. Prakash told that India got freedom in 1947. Same tense, simple past. Next example. He said the First World War took place in 1914. So it is also historical event. We are not supposed to change the tense here. So you have to keep it as it is. Simple past it is. So you have to keep it in simple past itself. He told that the First World War took place in 1914. Next example. John said, I love watching films. That's the habit. Okay, so we have to keep it in the same way. John said that he loves watching films. Okay, so this, the third rule, it's very important. So before changing direct speech into indirect speech, first you people have to see the reporting verb, whether it is in present tense or in past tense. If it is in present tense and past tense, you're not supposed to change the tense. And make sure, the third rule, that it's not a historical event or habitual fact or universal truth. If it is not there, then the second rule, that table, comes into play. Now, interrogative sentences in reported speech. If the direct speech is in question form, how to change that into indirect speech? Where do you want to go now? He said to me. So this is a question. So now direct speech is in question form. So here the second rule applies. The table comes into play. So you have to identify the tense of the direct speech, and then according to that, you people have to change it. Where do you want to go now? What is the tense of that statement? Simple present. Now simple present becomes simple past. Let's try to change it. He asked me where I wanted to go then. So since it's a question, so the reporting verb I have to use here as asked. He asked me where I wanted to go then. Simple present became simple past. I wanted. I asked Mayur, what are you doing? So what is the tense of the direct speech? What are you doing? That is present continuous tense. So the present continuous, it becomes past continuous. I questioned Mayur what he was doing. Do you want to read this book? I said to her. So what is the tense of the direct speech? Simple present. So simple present becomes simple past. I questioned her whether she wanted to read that book. So remember, interrogative sentences. When you are changing the interrogative sentences into indirect speech, always remember that second rule comes into play. Imperative sentences into indirect speech. So now how to change imperative sentences into indirect speech? Let us see. She said to me, please help me. She requested me to help her. So requested is the reporting verb that I am using because there is a request in the direct speech. She said to me, please help me. That becomes she requested me to help her. I'm using to conjunction to there. Kirtan said to his servant, clean the table. Kirtan ordered his servant to clean the table. The doctor told me avoid unhealthy food. The doctor advised me to avoid unhealthy food. Nick said, don't punish me. Nick pleaded not to punish him. So these are the few examples of how to change imperative sentence into indirect speech. Remember, according to the meaning of the direct speech, the context of the direct speech, you are supposed to pick the reporting verb. Here I have used requested, ordered, advised, and pleaded depending on the context of the direct speech. Now the exclamatory sentences into indirect speech. How to change the exclamatory sentence into indirect speech. They said, hurrah, we won the game. They exclaimed with joy that they had won the game. So once again here, the table comes into play. We won the game, that is simple past. So simple past becomes past perfect. So they had won the game. She said, oh, I lost my purse. She exclaimed with sorrow that she had lost her purse. I lost my purse, that is simple past. So simple past becomes past perfect. Neha said, wow, what a beautiful flower it is. Neha exclaimed with wonder, what a beautiful flower it was. Tushar said, alas, I failed the test. Tushar exclaimed with sorrow that he had failed the test. So that's it about the direct and indirect speech. I have covered all the essential points to learn direct speech into indirect speech. So tenses play a huge role. If you haven't seen my previous video, that is tenses, please click the link and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.